We had a pretty good KubeCon, ArgoCon session. Lots of good talks being shown, especially on the workflows track. And then additionally, within like mainline Argo workflows, there are a couple other items that were particularly interesting, especially for people who are running Argo workflows on spot nodes, where they might not have reliability that the workflow is going to be alive at any given time, or excuse me, they might not have reliability that the individual pod within a workflow is not going to uh, be alive in the case that Amazon or another cloud provider pulls back the node that the workflow pod is running on. So first, let's talk about mainline ArgoCon and the talks that we saw there. I think one of the biggest talks we saw was Darko and Becky's talk on the architecture of Argo workflows, how it works under the hood, and everything related to just a general intro to Argo workflows. Yeah, Darko, what were your thoughts giving the talk? It seems like y'all were very prepared. You had a great attendance. A lot of people came up and talked to you after. How was the experience overall?
Well, in general, I think, yeah, it was great. So, yeah, basically, we're talking about, yeah, things that everyone should be familiar with. Uh, we talked about how everything works inside our workflows, how a workflow controller works, our server, and at the end we touched a little bit about how everything inside the single step works. So how everything is connected to Kubernetes and how you can use the Kubernetes logic to actually create a workflow. So yeah, I think it was really useful for people that are not familiar with Argo workflows, and also it was useful for people that are already using it, but they're not familiar with everything that's happening inside.
Definitely a good summary. So you started working at Pipekit, what, 2 years ago? Was it, Darko?
Uh, yeah, 2 years ago.
How long did it take you to really build that mental map of how Argo workflows works?
Well, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, but yeah, I mean, I yeah started writing workflows from the beginning, so it was a little bit easier for me because I already had like a Kubernetes background. So everything came like natural to me to simply map from Kubernetes side to our workflow side. So yeah, I think from my side it was not that hard, but I assume people that are not familiar with everything and people that are more data scientists, it would be a little bit harder for them.
If you were to go back in time, do you think having your most recent ArgoCon talk would have helped you onboard faster?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, that is good to hear. Um, yeah, in addition to the Argo workflows architecture deep dive, there are a couple talks I gave involving Hera, where we presented an introduction on Hera, how it works, a lot of the Python constructs. I gave that with Elliot Gunton from Bloomberg, and then also did a panel with Elliot and Sam from Bloomberg and Alina from Centrica. So those are my, I guess, selfish shout outs. Alan, we'll pass it to you to talk a little bit more about CD since you talked about CD in your talk. You even gave the Chair Talk podcast a fun shout out. So yeah, did you see any other interesting talks with relation to CD? And then how was your talk received? And like, yeah, did you learn any fun stuff?
Um, my talk was about plugins and how I'd like to make them easier to adopt within Argo CD, which are so this is config management plugins. And yeah, it seemed to be pretty well received. Got some nice chats afterwards from people. So I learned a few people who use my plugin, which was nice, lovely plugin. Yeah, learned that I need to practice getting my demo working properly, or at least my screen sharing, because that didn't go so well. The other one that I particularly was intrigued by is the rendered manifest pattern. I think talking afterwards to some of the other CD maintainers, this is probably going to be the encouraged practice with Argo CD, and Argo CD will make it easier to implement in the future. There's already a proposal within Argo CD to allow it to do this process. And by what do we mean by rendered manifest pattern? It's probably best to watch the talk if you want to know properly what it's about. But the idea is that Argo CD is getting from Git just pure Kubernetes YAML instead of doing Helm rendering, customized rendering, any other kind of rendering within its own pipeline, as it takes stuff from Git and applies it to the cluster. It's not having to do any manipulation for speed reasons and also for code review reasons. It will still assist you with that process. So if you do have Helm charts that you want rendering, it would have there will be a pipeline through Argo CD where it will take your Helm charts, your values.yaml, and turn them into YAML, pure YAML, which it will then commit back to Git. And then its delivery pipeline into the cluster will be from that pure YAML version in Git. That's the proposal, and it looks like that's the way it's going to go. So we have to get on board at some point.
Yeah, you originally said in your talk that you felt plugins were irreconcilable with the rendered manifest pattern. Do you still hold that view?
Well, they are. So it's making it 2 loops instead of 1 through Argo. So instead of they will still probably have place, it seems, because Argo CD will be able to do that rendering. It will take your Helm chart, pass it through, or your unrendered manifests, pass it through Argo CD and back out to Git through plugins. So that still leaves a place for plugins for. I still feel there's a lot of value in plugins in that you are, instead of explicitly, so you're explicitly saying, this is the world for production, this is the world for staging, this is the world for development. And the differences between those are all encapsulated in sort of minimal readable pattern rather than being the full exploded version of, say, your Helm chart. And I think that is valuable. And as long as that's still possible, you can then do a code review at both stages. And if you don't really care about the other half, the rendered manifest YAML, which in general I don't, I'm not running super production, the stuff I'm running can survive. It's not aeroplanes and it's not medical.
Sure.
We build robustness other ways. And having to review thousands of lines of YAML is challenging, especially when it's an imported Helm chart. You are not going to find the problems necessarily. It's better to run a good quality staging. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Would it be worth comparing this to dependency management? So similar to like a Go context of having a Go mod file and then potentially rendered manifests would be like checking in the vendor directory into Git, or if you're in a front-end world, like having your package JSON and your node modules.
Yeah, it is the same thing. You're trusting the node module producers or the Go module producers to do the right thing. You are generally not wanting to code review absolutely every line of that, and you. In the same way, you don't want to code review every Helm chart change, because eventually, at the moment, YAML, your YAML tends to be smaller than your Go modules, or the number of lines of YAML tends to be smaller. But as the world gets more complex and these Helm charts get more complex, we're going to end up in exactly the same scenario. It is the same thing. It's a very good parallel.
All right. Were there any other interesting talks that y'all got to see either at ArgoCon or KubeCon generally?
The one I'd like to talk about is I think it's called "The Party Must Go On," and the pods must go on. Anyway, it was given by a developer from QA Wolf. QA Wolf do testing, so they run your tests for you in their clusters. So they run a lot of pods, and they go up and down, they scale up and down a lot. So they want to run them on spot nodes. And the problem with spot nodes is they go away, and you may be running an hour's worth of testing, and you may be 55 minutes into that, and you're going to lose all of that if your pod goes away. So that means there's a trade-off between running on spot nodes and cost, and versus running on permanent nodes, which are paying more than twice for. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, so he had tried to get Cryu, which is a long-standing project for freezing process trees, so Linux process trees. So that's where it takes the a process and any of its children processes and tries to store them to disk, basically, and then allows you to regenerate them later. And he's made a system for doing that for QA Wolf called Cryuk, CRIK. Quick. Talk through all of the downsides of doing it. It's particularly problematic if you've got network connections open, but that's the same problem that we would generally like to solve for people running pods within workflows that are running on spot nodes that, again, might be running for long periods of time. And ideally, if what you can do is migrate them using Cryu and Creek, then that would be great. A brief attempt to do this on the trade show floor failed. It theoretically might work, so we'll have a look and see where Crick goes and whether we can make it work for workflows, and give us a demo of that. That would be awesome. Then it would allow you to run your long-running workflow pods under certain circumstances on spot nodes and migrate them rather than having to retry from the beginning.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, let's hope that pans out. It would be a big boon to workflow running and just general like data processing, data pipelines, CI jobs on Kubernetes in general. Any other talks that we should mention? No is an appropriate answer.
Yeah, I don't have anything else that I particularly want to. Yeah.
How is the general atmosphere at KubeCon?
Lively, and yeah, I thought it was good. A lot of people asking interesting questions. So yeah, enjoyed it. Darko, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. So yes, it was fun, and it was really crowded, a lot of people, and they were really eager to know a lot about our workflows and Kubernetes in general. So yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, agreed. It did seem like Argo adoption is trending up, which is a great thing. We're seeing continued adoption of Argo CD, and then the Argo workflows wave seems to be trending up as well, which is fantastic to see for both projects. So let's hope that momentum continues. Also, a good thing that you called out, Darko, was how many people were there looking to learn. That it does seem that it has become the place where people go trying to learn new things about Kubernetes, about the different projects, and providing that knowledge to them is something that we as vendors should definitely index even more on than we have been. All right. Are there any items that we want to cover from the Argo Workflows Slack this week? Otherwise, we can keep it short and just wrap it up now that we've finished our ArgoCon and KubeCon recap.
I'm happy to leave it there.
All right, cool. Darko, sound good to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right, gang. It was great seeing the both of you at KubeCon, ArgoCon. I'm bummed we didn't get to go to the chair exhibit in the north end of Paris, but we always have something that we can go back to in the future.
Yeah.
All right, gang. Catch y'all later.
Okay.
Bye.